To get a sense of just how deep trenches are, if we take the height of Mount Everest, we would still have about a mile of water above us before we get to the ocean's surface.
In 2011, a lone research vessel drifted above one of the deepest and most mysterious places on Earth, far from any land and surrounded by nothing but endless ocean. Beneath the ship lay nearly 11 kilometers of crushing darkness, a place so extreme that scientists believed almost nothing could survive there. As a deep-sea camera began its slow descent, sunlight disappeared forever. The temperature dropped to near freezing, and the pressure climbed to more than 1,000 times what we experience at sea level. The crew expected to find only silence, darkness, and an empty seafloor, but what the camera captured changed everything. Hidden in the deepest part of the Pacific Ocean was a discovery so shocking that it challenged everything we thought we knew about life on Earth. Before we reveal this unbelievable mystery, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring you more incredible discoveries. Now prepare to descend into the darkest place on Earth, where the impossible was waiting to be found. When the camera finally returned to the surface, the footage revealed something no one had expected. A living creature was moving across the seafloor in a place where scientists believed survival was virtually impossible. According to everything researchers understood at the time, life simply shouldn't exist under those crushing conditions. That single discovery sparked more than a decade of ambitious expeditions into the deepest and harshest environment on Earth. Hidden beneath the Pacific Ocean lies a trench so immense that even if Mount Everest were dropped inside it, its summit would still remain over 2 kilometers below the ocean's surface. And with every new mission, scientists uncovered discoveries that seemed pulled straight from science fiction. Heavily armored animals, mysterious glowing creatures unlike anything ever classified, a single-celled organism as large as a mango, and a thriving ecosystem that has never depended on sunlight for survival. Humanity spends billions searching distant planets for signs of extraterrestrial life, yet one of the strangest worlds imaginable has been sitting beneath our own oceans the entire time. We have explored only a tiny fraction of it. This place is known as the Mariana Trench, and by the end of this video, you'll understand why many scientists believe it may be even more mysterious and more unsettling than anything waiting for us in outer space. To understand why it's so extraordinary, we first need to appreciate its scale. The Mariana Trench lies in the western Pacific Ocean, several hundred kilometers east of the Mariana Islands near Guam. It stretches roughly 2,550 kilometers across the seafloor, forming a giant crescent-shaped valley beneath the ocean. At its lowest point lies Challenger Deep, descending to approximately 10,935 meters below sea level. For comparison, Mount Everest, Earth's tallest mountain, rises about 8,849 meters. Even if you placed Everest inside Challenger Deep, its peak would still remain more than 2 kilometers underwater. You could stack another mountain on top, and it still wouldn't reach the surface. So what created a trench this unimaginably deep? The answer lies beneath Earth's crust. The massive Pacific Plate is slowly sliding beneath the smaller Mariana Plate in a process known as subduction. This movement happens at an almost imperceptible pace, yet it has continued for tens of millions of years. Over that immense span of time, the collision carved out the enormous scar we now call the Mariana Trench. Now imagine trying to survive at the very bottom. The pressure inside Challenger Deep exceeds 1,000 times the pressure we experience at sea level. Scientists often compare it to having the weight of around 50 fully loaded jumbo jets pressing down on a single person. Any ordinary submarine would be crushed almost instantly without specially engineered protection. The water remains only a few degrees above freezing, and sunlight never reaches these depths. Light disappears at roughly 1,000 meters beneath the ocean's surface, while Challenger Deep extends almost 11 times farther down into complete darkness. Considering these extreme conditions, it's remarkable that only a handful of human-built vehicles have ever reached the ocean floor there. Visiting the deepest point on Earth remains one of humanity's rarest achievements. Among the most surprising discoveries was a small fish later identified as the Mariana snailfish. At first glance, it seems completely unsuited for such a brutal environment. Its body appears soft and jelly-like, lacking hard scales, while its pale skin is so transparent that parts of its internal structure are almost visible. Its tiny black eyes and delicate appearance make it seem better suited to a shallow coastal tide pool than the deepest trench on the planet. Yet these fish quietly patrol the seafloor in small groups, feeding on shrimp and other tiny creatures that also inhabit this hidden world. The truly astonishing part comes when scientists study what happens outside its natural habitat. If a Mariana snailfish were brought to the surface alive, its body would quickly begin to break down. Not because it's weak, but because every part of its biology is designed to exist under immense pressure. Its bones remain extremely thin, and unlike most fish, its skull never completely hardens. This isn't a defect, it's a remarkable evolutionary advantage. Producing a heavy mineral skeleton requires valuable energy, and in a place where food is incredibly scarce, conserving energy is essential for survival. Instead of investing resources into building a rigid frame, the snailfish relies on the crushing pressure of the deep ocean to support its body. The same force capable of crushing a steel submarine is actually what keeps this fish functioning normally. Every cell inside its body is perfectly adapted to life under that enormous weight. Remove the pressure, and its biological structure can no longer remain stable. In a fascinating twist of nature, the environment that allows this animal to survive is the very reason it cannot survive anywhere else. That makes the Mariana snailfish far more than a creature that simply endures extreme conditions. It is a species that has been completely shaped by them. Its entire existence depends on a force that would instantly destroy almost every other form of life on Earth. Yet even this extraordinary fish wasn't the strangest resident of the trench. During a 2019 expedition into the Hadal Zone, the name given to ocean depths beyond 6,000 meters, scientists encountered another remarkable surprise. Crawling across the seabed were shrimp-like animals known as supergiant amphipods. Some individuals measured nearly a foot in length. That's astonishing when compared with the tiny amphipods commonly found in shallow reefs and tide pools, which usually grow only a few millimeters long. Discovering giant versions of these creatures in one of the most food-starved environments on Earth challenged long-held biological expectations. Normally, animals living under harsh conditions evolve to become smaller because smaller bodies require less energy. These amphipods had somehow evolved in the opposite direction. An even greater surprise came after researchers analyzed their protective shells. Embedded within their exoskeletons was aluminium, a material almost never used by living organisms as structural armor. Most animals rely on calcium, silica, or chitin to build protective coverings, but these deep-sea creatures appeared to have developed a completely different strategy. Scientists believe they extract tiny traces of aluminium from the surrounding seabed, then chemically transform it into a protective coating that strengthens their shells against the unimaginable pressure of the deep ocean. That aluminium coating serves an important purpose. Scientists believe it prevents the creature's shells from slowly dissolving in the trench's highly corrosive waters. Without that protective layer, their exoskeletons would gradually erode under the harsh chemical conditions found at these incredible depths. Their eating habits are just as remarkable as their armor. Supergiant amphipods survive as scavengers, feeding on anything that drifts down from the world above. Dead fish, fallen tree branches, decaying organic material, and, disturbingly, even pieces of plastic waste that have traveled thousands of meters to the deepest part of the ocean all become part of their diet. We'll return to that unsettling plastic discovery later because it reveals a much larger problem than most people realize. Researchers have also witnessed these giant amphipods defending themselves in an unexpected way. They use their long, spiked tails as weapons against predators, a behavior that had never been documented before these deep-sea expeditions. Think about that image for a moment. A shrimp-like creature, nearly a foot long, protected by metal-strengthened armor, built from minerals gathered on the ocean floor, armed with a natural spear, surviving beneath pressures that would instantly destroy most forms of life. It sounds more like the concept art for an alien creature than something living on our own planet. Yet it's completely real, and it still isn't the strangest life form discovered in the Mariana Trench. Now, imagine a living cell as large as a mango. Normally, single-celled organisms are so tiny that they're completely invisible without a microscope. But the Mariana Trench completely rewrites that rule. During a 2011 expedition, scientists noticed strange, pale structures resting across the seabed. Some measured over 10 centimeters wide, roughly the size of a mango. These mysterious organisms are known as xenophyophores, and their size is only the beginning of what makes them extraordinary. Technically, each xenophyophore is just one enormous cell. Unlike ordinary cells that contain a single nucleus, these giants hold countless nuclei within the same cell, making them what biologists call multinucleated organisms. Imagine a single cell performing the work normally carried out by an entire multicellular organism. Instead of relying on different tissues and organs, one gigantic cell manages every biological function on its own. Even more impressive, these organisms construct protective homes by collecting tiny grains of sediment and mineral particles from the surrounding mud. Over time, they assemble delicate structures that resemble sponges or fragile coral scattered across the ocean floor. Scientists still don't fully understand how a single cell can grow to such an enormous size while surviving under crushing pressure, complete darkness, and an environment where food is incredibly scarce. One leading theory suggests that its large size is actually the secret to its survival. A bigger body provides more surface area, allowing it to collect whatever tiny amounts of nutrients drift through the water. In other words, it didn't become large despite the hostile environment. It may have become large because of it. It's a difficult idea to wrap your mind around. A single living cell, about the size of a piece of fruit, quietly existing nearly 11 kilometers beneath the ocean's surface, carrying out every function of an entire organism in complete darkness where sunlight has never existed. And if that sounds unbelievable, what scientists encountered next is even harder to explain. Before we continue, take a second to appreciate what we've already uncovered. We've seen a fish whose body depends on crushing pressure to stay intact, a giant shrimp that builds metal-reinforced armor from the seafloor, and a single cell large enough to hold in your hand. If you're enjoying this journey into one of Earth's greatest mysteries, don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us continue exploring incredible stories like this one. Because what happened next left even experienced researchers genuinely puzzled. During a NOAA expedition exploring an underwater mountain known as Enigma Seamount near the Mariana Trench, cameras descending to roughly 3,700 meters captured something no one on board recognized. Floating silently through the darkness was a jellyfish unlike anything the team had seen before. It possessed a smooth, bell-shaped body with long, thread-like tentacles trailing beneath it. Unlike most jellyfish that rhythmically pulse through the water while searching for prey, this creature barely moved at all. Instead, it appeared to remain perfectly still, waiting patiently for unsuspecting animals to drift within reach before striking. As the footage continued, researchers noticed something even stranger. Parts of the jellyfish emitted a faint glow. Some scientists believed it resembled members of the known Crossota group, while others suspected they were looking at an entirely undiscovered species. To this day, no one has been able to officially identify or classify it. Take a moment to think about that. We possess clear, time-stamped, high-quality video of a living animal from our own planet that science still cannot confidently name. At the same time, space agencies spend billions searching distant galaxies for even the smallest hint that life might exist somewhere beyond Earth. Yet beneath less than 4 kilometers of ocean, a glowing creature drifted directly past a research camera, and nobody on the expedition could say exactly what it was. That isn't a failure of science, it's a reminder of how little of our own world we've actually explored. And that mysterious jellyfish is far from an isolated discovery. It's part of a much larger story unfolding in the Mariana Trench, an entire hidden ecosystem whose survival depends on an energy source completely independent of sunlight. Nearly every living thing we're familiar with ultimately relies on the sun. Plants convert sunlight into energy through photosynthesis. Animals feed on those plants, or on other animals that do. Follow almost any food chain on Earth far enough, and eventually it leads back to sunlight. It's the foundation that supports nearly all life on our planet. At the very bottom of the Mariana Trench, the familiar rules that govern life on Earth's surface simply no longer apply. Sunlight has never reached these depths, and it never will. Yet in 2025, a Chinese deep-sea submersible uncovered something extraordinary. Nearly 10 kilometers beneath the ocean's surface, researchers found thriving colonies of worms and mollusks clustered around cracks in the seabed, where methane gas slowly escapes from deep within Earth's crust. These creatures survive through an incredible biological process known as chemosynthesis. Instead of relying on sunlight like plants do, specialized bacteria use chemicals such as methane and hydrogen sulfide to produce energy. In many ways, they perform the same role that photosynthesis plays on land, except their energy comes from chemistry rather than light. The worms and mollusks either feed directly on these bacteria or live alongside them in a symbiotic relationship, allowing both organisms to thrive in complete darkness. Scientists described this discovery as the deepest known community of animal life ever found on Earth. More importantly, it suggests that countless other ecosystems may still be hidden beneath the ocean floor, waiting to be discovered. The implications are astonishing. This proves that life doesn't actually need sunlight to survive. That single fact has transformed the way scientists think about the search for life beyond Earth. Take Europa, one of Jupiter's icy moons. Beneath its frozen shell, researchers believe a vast liquid ocean may exist, with hydrothermal vents potentially active on the seafloor. Or consider Enceladus, a moon orbiting Saturn, where enormous plumes of water vapor erupt through cracks in the ice, hinting at an ocean hidden far below. If chemical energy alone can sustain thriving ecosystems in the crushing darkness of the Mariana Trench, there's every reason to believe the same process could be supporting life beneath the frozen oceans of these distant worlds. Back on Earth, not every deep-sea creature relies on the same survival strategy. Researchers have also recorded ghostly transparent eels gliding through the Hadal Zone. Their bodies are almost completely see-through, with only their heads appearing more solid. In an environment where sunlight never exists, eyesight becomes almost useless. Instead, these eels depend on highly sensitive sensory organs that allow them to detect movement and vibrations in the surrounding water, making them perfectly adapted for hunting in total darkness. Blanketing much of the trench floor is another hidden hero of this ecosystem, a dense carpet of bacteria. These microscopic organisms break down dead animals and organic material drifting from the ocean above, recycling valuable nutrients back into the environment. Without this bacterial layer constantly processing every available food source, very little life could survive in such an isolated place. Scientists involved in long-term Hadal Zone studies, including the MIR project, have discovered that the Mariana Trench is far from a single, lifeless abyss. Instead, it contains multiple interconnected ecosystems layered on top of one another. Each has developed its own unique method of survival over millions of years of isolation. Even after decades of exploration, researchers estimate they've documented only a small fraction of the life hidden within this vast underwater world. But perhaps the most disturbing discovery isn't a new species at all. It's what humanity left behind. Most people would assume that the deepest and most remote location on Earth would remain untouched by human activity. Unfortunately, that's no longer true. In 2020, scientists identified a completely new species of amphipod living deep inside the Mariana Trench. When they analyzed its tissues, they discovered microscopic plastic particles already embedded within its body. The research team made a powerful statement through the creature's name. They officially called it Erythrines plasticus, deliberately choosing a name that reflects the pollution already contaminating its habitat. Their message was impossible to ignore. Plastic waste had reached nearly 7 kilometers beneath the ocean's surface, invading one of the least explored ecosystems on Earth before scientists had even begun to understand it. Marine ecologist Alan Jameson, who led the study, pointed out an unsettling reality. This was a species completely unknown to science until that moment, yet by the time it was discovered, it was already carrying evidence of human pollution. If you enjoyed this journey into Earth's deepest frontier, don't forget to like, subscribe, and help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next adventure.